I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't read the whole series just yet, but from what I have read, this does not disappoint. My name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics. We are covering the complete Avengers Arena series. Right now, we're covering Avengers Arena number 2. And it starts off with this girl named Riker. That is her last name. It's a famous last name because of her father. We'll get into that a little bit later. And she still has the blood of metal on her face. So then this other chick, her name is Red Raven. They kind of like bump into each other, and Red Raven just takes off into the sky, and she's just going higher, higher, higher. And then she cracks this force field. I mean, she hits it hard, and she comes crashing down to the ground, and she hits the ground hard. Like, looks like she landed on her neck. And I don't know whether she hit the force field and died, or whether she hit the ground and died. It's almost like with Gwen Stacy. Was she dead before Spider-Man caught her, or was the force of him catching her what broke her neck? Who knows? All I know is dead is dead, and Red Raven, she is dead. Let me remind you, this is only the 3rd page. So now you have X-23 and you have Reptile trying to console Hazmat, because her boyfriend just got splattered all over the place. And Riker is trying to come over to Hazmat, and she's just trying to say, how sorry she is, for what happened to Metal. And, Hazmat's just hysterical. She ain't having it. And she goes to attack Riker. Now, Riker is a deathlock. So even if she didn't want to, her components just activate and then does this big ass blast and blasts Hazmat like right in the face. So I don't know whether it was the hazmat suit or whether it's because she can absorb radiation. Either way it goes, Hazmat just pretty much ate that blast and tells the girl, nice try, and then starts blasting at Riker, and Riker just running off saying, I'm sorry. So then it does a flashback with Riker where I guess she used to be a swimmer, and she says that she hated swimming, but because her coach and her dad wanted her to get better at it, she just kept doing it for like 11 straight years. It's pretty crazy. So then she comes home from swimming practice one day, and she steps in, and then there's this deathlock, and her mom and her little brother is on the ground, and her mom barely gets out her name, Rebecca, when then there's this big ass explosion. And you can see in gruesome detail what happened to her in that explosion. I mean, you can see like pieces and parts of her flying everywhere. It's pretty crazy. So I guess she got far enough away, and she's walking, and then all of a sudden, falling out the tree is Cammy. So she pretty much stops her from stepping on the landmine, and Riker's like, oh, thank you, you're being so nice. And Cammy's like, I'm not being nice, I'm being selfish. I didn't want you blowing yourself up also blowing me up too. And then Cammy has like one of the best lines ever. So then, like I said, Riker's trying to be friends with her. She goes, hi, my name is Becca. And then Cammy's like, no, you used to be Becca, but now you are a flesh wrap killing bot murder machine. And while I'm sure the meaty half of your brain is sweet as a kitten, the other half is a deathlock. And she sticks the gun to her head and pretty much tells her to just keep it pushing. So then it does another flashback to sometime after the bomb explosion. And you see this guy, he's going back and forth from hospital bed to hospital bed. It's Harlem Riker, and he is the inventor of the deathlocks. And he's trying to, I guess, turn his family into deathlocks to save their lives. Well, the little brother and the mother is pretty much gone, but Rebecca is responsive, and then he starts to work on her. Now, when he normally makes deathlocks, he normally reanimates dead corpses into deathlocks. This is the first person who was actually still living who he actually made into a deathlock, which he admits as he's working on his daughter. And you can tell this dude's like a mad scientist, because he's sitting there talking to his daughter as he's working on her, and he's like, yeah, the deathlocks come after me all the time. They send people back to try to kill me, but I never thought they would actually go after my family. What the hell do you mean you never thought they'd go after your family? That's the first thing you would think they would do. Like, this dude, he might be a genius, but he's also Looney Tunes. So then as he's working on his daughter, all of a sudden S.H.I.E.L.D. just busts in the door and is letting him know that he's doing illegal experiments and so on and so forth. And they arrest him, and then they gather her up. So then it skips back to the present time, and Riker just has no luck. She's trying to get close to a fire to keep warm that these other people have made, and of course she's discovered. I'm not going to get into all these characters because, like I said, I'm going to do character layouts of all these characters throughout so that you guys know who these people are, because a lot of them are very short-lived. Now, some of these people you might not know, but you recognize like a uniform that they're wearing or something like that. Like the one that actually discovered Riker, obviously he's wearing a Captain Britain uniform. Now Nora, obviously she's blue, she's wearing a water breather, so she's Atlantean. And before you Wakanda Forever people start coming out saying it's not Atlantis anymore, it's Tolokan, this was written a decade before the movie came out, and before that it was Atlantis. So she is Atlantean in this. And then obviously one is named Bloodstone, so you know he's got to be related to Ulysses and Elsa Bloodstone, especially if you guys watch Werewolf by Night, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So then they start discussing whether they want to kill her or not, and then finally this one girl named Apex comes out and pretty much calls off the dogs and starts to befriend her and starts giving a lowdown on all the other people that are there. So Apex starts to explain how she's a fangirl of all the different geniuses in the world, like Reed Richards and Tony Stark, and how she's also a fangirl of her father. So then there's one more flashback to when S.H.I.E.L.D. now has custody of her, and they're trying to explain to her how they have no idea how her cybernetics is going to work because it's way more advanced than anything that they realize. They feel like she's going to be okay. They just don't know how to determine how long it's going to take for her to like get used to them. And then it flashes back to them at the campfire, and what's her name asks her what she said, and she just says, oh, nothing, it's just been a really long day. Oh.